Good. Well, um, Michelle Obama, Becoming, yes. I was not too excited about reading this book at first because I thought, more political stuff and election things and all. But I was really, pleasantly surprised by some of the little tidbits that we didn't know about her life and how she met Obama and everything. And I thought it gave us an interesting look at behind the scenes in the White House and how she got there and her journey. So I thought it was worth reading and well written, although it was a little draggy at places. I thought maybe they could have moved along a little bit. But does anybody else want to comment on the structure or the book itself before we go into the questions?
I think I do, Chris. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I found that the totality of the book gave me a much needed inside look at what women go through as the spouses of politicians, and how tough these women need to be to function, especially as the mate of the president. I liked the book. I appreciated her strength. Her mother's strength was the part that really kept me going. So I thought it was a great book. I'm glad I read it.
Good. Anybody else?
I loved it too. I thought it was, I read it a couple months ago. Actually, my daughter had bought it and gave it to me. But I love reading, I guess, like a biography, but, all the things that, as she grew up and all the things she and her family and her brother and all the way up to, being in the White House. It made her so, it was just really getting to know her better. And I truly enjoyed it.
The personal touch was there. Yes, Jean.
I agree. I really enjoyed the book as well. I almost like the parts of her growing up before Barack, almost as much as the times when, she was forced into the political arena by some of his choices. So I felt like she was very conversational in the way she approached her writing. And I appreciated that. And since it was a fairly long book, but I felt like it gave me a little bit of insight into all of the tough decisions she had to make to be supportive of her family.
Yeah,
And,
I agree. Yeah.
And what it was like growing up on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
And I liked the book a lot too. And I thought, it's very thorough and well written and interesting. And those pictures really told her whole life.
Yeah.
The pictures.
Yeah, I enjoyed the pictures too. Those were great. Yeah. Jan.
Yeah, I enjoyed. She's overcoming all the instances. She could overcome everything, it seemed like, and go on. Whereas I thought, oh, would I do that or whatever? But I thought it was very good. Sorry, my throat's good. That's good.
Great. Yeah, Vicki.
I read it quite a while ago, but I was really struck with the honesty and the willingness to be so forthcoming about her reality, really throughout her life to this point. And I'm about halfway through Barack's new book, and it's kind of interesting. I saw in a little summer review the other day that she spent 70 pages on their courtship and marriage, and he spent 4. And
All right.
it kind of tells you where his focus is, which I think as a politician, that's really where it had to be. So
He said though that he was
Mm-hmm.
gonna write, that was gonna be more of his next book. He had
Oh.
planned on putting more of that in his next book.
Oh,
Or maybe he
And-
thought
It's a guy thing.
he did.
Chandra, were you going to say something?
Oh, I did. Well, I was gonna say too, maybe he didn't put very much in because his book was after hers and she had already put so much into it too.
Well,
I want to say too, I really enjoyed this book. I did the audio,
Ah, good.
which was great because it was so long. It was really nice too. And I think being able to, she read it to her voice, so it felt very personal to hear her on it. And I thought it was so timely. I tried to read this book and I tried to do the audio back in the spring when we were first on stay at home. And I couldn't do it. I was like, we're starting a pandemic. We were just confused. I'm like, I couldn't listen to it and I couldn't read it. So I love now even, and I felt too, somebody mentioned earlier that it just seemed like right now, just we've had enough with politics. But I think it was extra important to get a feeling on what we've been through too, to be like, oh, this is how it really was before, and just some of the things that she had to say about President Trump, and just life has changed so much in the last 6 months or so with Black Lives Matter movement that was very timely to hear.
Yeah.
Easy as Midwesterners to relate to her from Chicago. So I
Right.
definitely enjoyed the book.
Good, good. Any other comments on the book itself before we go to the questions? It was intriguing to me when Barack was supposed to write that first book about his father, and then he missed the deadline, and then he went away to Bali, and anyway, and his mother got him a cottage, way far away. He left. They had just been married, and he left for several months to go and finish that book. But so now I'm kind of intrigued to go and read that one just because, But
I think a lot of their finances at that time depended on him finishing that book. So it was probably wise of him to remove himself and get it done.
yeah, he was going to pay back the $40,000 of the advance that he had before, and that was going to be a problem, I think, at that point.
One of the other things that really struck me about this book is how she threw herself into what she felt was her job once she got into the White House. I mean, she put in long days, hard work, really, really embraced the job.
The
And,
cause. Yes.
I think
he really didn't want the job.
No.
Give her credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I never realized, I just never thought about it so much about how each first lady has a cause that she's supposed to promote, and just finding the right one and not offending somebody by what your cause is. Like when Michelle picked the, have better food in the school and stuff like that, she didn't offend some of the people that supplied the school food, and people would be upset. She couldn't keep everybody happy. I think that would be the hard thing, trying to find a cause that wouldn't offend people like that. And even her garden, when she tried to plant that victory garden, they didn't want to put it out there. She had to get special permission from all the groundskeepers and the parks district and everything. I thought, gee, how difficult is it to plant a garden?
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, the other thing that struck me that I hadn't thought about was all the security protocol that they need whenever they go any place, you know. I mean, she couldn't even go out on the, what is the two-man balcony without planning ahead and telling all the security people that she was going to go outside. Then they had to close down part of the street. I mean, how disruptive. And that one evening, she and Barack went to New York after he was elected or in the White House. And then they had all these security things just so they could go to dinner and a play. And that seemed very uncomfortable. I don't think it would be any fun to have an evening out of all those people following you around. Yeah.
Well, I read it last spring, but if I remember right, doesn't she start out by sitting on the porch with the feet liking the freedom and then being able to open a bedroom window if she wanted to?
Exactly.
Yeah, after she left office, she said that she couldn't even open a window in the White House in their bedroom. She
Right.
couldn't have any fresh air.
No, but let alone hide.
It was all bulletproof. I remember when she said that she only knew the helicopter landed because she smelled the fuel.
Oh my gosh.
She never heard anything. She just somehow the fumes got through, but the sound never did. I thought that was really weird.
Yeah.
No, that would be really strange. I don't think, you know, and then, you know, well, it's a whole different thing. You can't even imagine, I don't think. But we'll start off with a couple of the questions here. Mrs. Obama begins with a story about making cheese toast on a quiet night at home. This is a few months after leaving the White House. And why do you think she started the story that way? Why did she use that to begin her memoir? I don't know.
Probably because she never got to cook. Never
Well, that's right.
never got to cook at the White House.
That's true. That's true. And maybe
Back
cheese.
to normalcy.
Right.
Back to being a normal human being.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And how different changes were.
Maybe
Yeah.
that was a comfort food in their house, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like cheese toast, so I can understand that. But, her mother, Mrs. Robinson, is the opposite of a helicopter parent. She was tough and had very high expectations for her children. And she also expected them to figure some things out on their own and learn from their missteps and the process of making choices. She gave her children their freedom at a very young age. And how did that shape Mrs. Obama or Michelle? And what is the balance between discipline and trust? Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that was really key for me too.
Yeah, I thought
That she had a lot of, I almost want to say privilege, but I suppose that's a buzzword right now. But through the book, I thought she was very, and I don't take this negatively. I thought she was very, maybe I should say blessed instead, that she had two parents. She had this extended family that loved her and cared for her and guided her and were very involved in her life without being helicopter parents.
Yeah. Well, that was another thing, that she had two parents in the household, and it was a stable household, and the mother stayed home. And while the father, who had a good job with the city of Chicago, and that was interesting that was not the usual norm for some of their friends and neighbors. And
she had her aunt living downstairs, others, family. But I think that living like that made her very independent and assertive. I couldn't get over how assertive she seemed, because when for instance, in school was a kindergarten, she made one little mistake and she wanted to correct it and say it right the next day. And the teacher said, No, she insisted. I thought I could not see myself ever
Oh.
doing that.
Kindergarten child either.
That I want to do that. So I think she was assertive.
I think
that-
her
Yeah,
mother was a good example. I mean, she was a role model for her. Think of what her mother did. For example, thinking about school, if there was a problem at school, I think they were talking about the funding for the library. She didn't complain. She just led the charge to get funding. So it was probably in her blood.
Well,
Well,
and then
that one teacher wasn't so
grade,
hot.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
she had her changed to a different teacher and more or less told that teacher to get a different job.
But she was lucky that her mother was so outspoken and involved that the children were doing. So that was amazing. Yeah. So she was a very good guy, role model for Michelle, I think. In Becoming, we got to know about Michelle's extended family through her eyes. Her grandfather's South Side, I thought that was clever. The one that liked the jazz music, filled his house with music and and years later, Mrs. Obama would fill the White House with music and culture through the live performances. And how do these kinds of memories leave an imprint on us as we grow older? Do you have any memories from grandparents that you could share?
We're getting a lot of feedback.
Sorry. Okay. Any comments on the extended family? How did
She
you
was
like?
very close to her brother also. And her
Yeah.
brother, a good student and hardworking too, but she was very close to her brother.
Yeah, and he was into sports and everything too, and she went to games, and her parents supported all of these activities. They were very lucky to have that support from their parents, I think. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that their extended family and her family never moved. When people started to exit the area, it was kind of seemed like it was a family decision that they weren't going anywhere and they weren't afraid of what may be coming. And I think if they hadn't had other extended family members, they'd been isolated more. They may have made a different decision, it seemed like to me.
Yeah.
And as far as racial profiling, the brother had the new bike and was riding down by the lakefront. And the police stopped him and accused him of stealing it because he had a new bike.
Yep.
What about that time that Michelle's family drove out to visit some friends that had moved out to the suburbs?
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with all that area. That's where I lived.
Oh, yeah.
I think your point about music was interesting. And my husband and I have talked several times about the influence of music on our early life. We've talked about, of course, in our early days, it was record players. And what records our family had. And even now we almost always have music around us. And it's something I think that is lovely to turn to, especially this last year. It has been lovely to just be able to put on music of my choice or his choice, and the rest of the world can just wait until we're done listening to it. But I also get playlists from Barack. I guess somehow I got on his Facebook page
Oh.
or whatever. But he has every now and then he puts out what he's been listening to in the last 6 months. He does it with reading also, books, good books that he's recommending to people. But not too long ago, I got I don't know, there must have been 30 different songs or artists he'd been listening to. And of course, a lot of them are way beyond me. I have no idea who they are. But obviously, that's really important to him as well as to her and her side of the family.
Yeah. And I think, well, they were trying to illustrate with that question, the carryover that she took to the White House and the importance of the music and the jazz and the different performers. And I thought it was nice, well, that she was trying to include children in the performances too, have musicians come early and then have the children have time with them so they could all be exposed too. Yeah. So yeah, I remember music too. So all right. Now into her neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. What does she say? She writes, failure is a feeling long before it becomes an actual result. It's vulnerable when it is escalated by fear. How did this insight Obama's work and mission as a first lady? What can we do as individuals, parents, and community members to help break the cycle? The main gist of it was failure is a feeling long before it becomes an actual result. Yeah, I think, well, what about that time when she was going to apply to college and the guidance counselor told her they didn't think she was the proper material for that college? And that was kind of how did she respond to that? Do you remember what happened? She went back and avoided the guidance counselor and found somebody else to help her do the applications and get into school.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think that one group that she was with, and I can't remember when that was, the Alliance group, where they were trying to mentor children to become part of the community or something. She was always seemed to try and build people up and tell them they could do this. And starting with the children, there was something called the Alliance group or something she worked with for a while. But
I thought it was interesting that group of girls she worked with, was it in England? And
yes.
then that academy or whatever, and then they ended up doing a study after the fact on how those kids had turned out, how those girls had turned out, and they were basically went from C students to A students almost unequivocally. And she didn't take credit for all of that, but she got that all going. So I thought her mentorship stuff was very inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it just kind of points out how important it is to help and mentor younger people and help them get going in their life. So I guess that's a good one.
Excuse me, I might have to leave soon because of the contractor coming, but I
Oh.
have not read the book. So I was wondering, the group of girls in England, were they Black girls or white girls?
They were
What didn't you know?
they weren't white. They were from like Israel or something, weren't they? Or
I
Arabic?
think it was a mixed group, but she never really stated their whole makeup.
Yeah.
I don't think. And there was no picture of them, I don't think either.
Well,
So
that's interesting. Now, how about her own children? Does she speak of that much in the book?
Yeah.
In their life in
Yes.
the White House?
yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and her trying to get them into the more comfortable school, so they could have more of a normal school experience, even though they were in the White House. That was important to her, to find the right places for the children. yeah.
They didn't go to public school, did they? Didn't they go to private school?
Definitely private school.
They
Private
did.
school.
I thought so.
It was a,
Quaker. It was a
Quaker,
Quaker
yeah.
school, and it's known for its security, or being
Yeah.
able to be secure for high profile.
Because
Right.
Chelsea Clinton went there, right?
Yeah.
other presidents' children went there.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they
I
had,
think she was so totally devoted to her. It seemed to me that her main focus once she had became pregnant with her first child was going to be her children.
Mhm.
Period. I mean,
Mhm.
their well-being was her top priority. Clear
Yeah.
to the end of the book, I think.
Right.
Obvious.
Yeah, I didn't realize that she had had trouble getting pregnant, and she'd had to go through the in vitro,
Mhm.
and so that was kind of interesting. And I think, yeah, but I think, don't you see her mother's influence in that too?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
So was
she
she
had,
through law school? Was she through law school when she became pregnant?
Oh,
she was after law school, after she'd been working for a while.
So do
Yeah,
you know how old she was when she was finally able to get pregnant?
mid-30s, was it? Something like that?
probably, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. She'd had one miscarriage, but then they couldn't get pregnant again, and so she went through that, which is traumatic also. So
I imagine. Thank you.
yes. Okay, so we talked about, oh, this is cute. What about the early influences of her mother, Marion, and then Michelle's favorite TV show was Mary Tyler Moore. And
Oh
do
yeah.
you remember why she liked that one? Mary was.
But I don't know where Barack would fit in there though.
No, I don't know where that would fit. This is, she was a single professional living on her own in the big city, and she also liked her style of clothes, that she could, just go out and do clothes. And she was an independent person. She didn't need a fella to be around. So one was a wise and supportive stay-at-home mother who later went to work to help pay for her children's education. And the other was a single professional living in her own in the big city. And do you see both of these influences in Michelle's life? Well, we already talked about her mother's influence, but how about Mary Tyler Moore?
She was really about one of those first shows where a woman was like that.
Mhm.
You know.
Independent, yeah.
Before it was mostly, homemakers and.
Right. It was a mother. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that her in her own apartment influenced me at that age. And you may recall that Mary Tyler Moore had a vulnerability about her. She wasn't highly confident, really, but she kind of went where her heart led her, and she just kind of made herself do stuff, which is what I think that Michelle Obama did too.
Okay. Yeah.
She did what she had to do. Just like you said, when she was in the White House, she got to her, whatever she decided her role was.
Her project. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. They talk about her schooling. She went to Whitney Young High School, where that was a magnet school in Chicago. Hard to get into. I mean, where she tested into that, and I thought that was kind of interesting that she had like what did she have? Over an hour long bus ride to get to school, to that school. And at one point, she and her girlfriend decided that if they went away from school, further away, and caught the bus earlier, then they could get a seat on the bus so they could ride. They could sit down on the way. But she earned a spot in the National Honor Society, and she was on track to graduate in the top 10% of her class. And she was also treasurer of the senior class. And then she went on to college. And in high school, she said she felt like she was representing her neighborhood, because there were people from different neighborhoods there. And she said at Princeton, she felt that she was a product possibly of affirmative action programs. So she felt that she was representing her race. And do you think that was true, that she was actually representing the community or the race in those different schools? Or what do you
Oh, I
think?
suspect it was. I think that she and he and a lot of, I have no idea, but a lot of people feel like they're representing something when they're in a situation like that. Sometimes it's just being a woman in a situation that's dominated by men. When I grew up as a preacher's kid, I always was supposed to be the model of what good children were supposed to be. I think, I felt that little weight on me. I'm sure she felt a huge weight on her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think that Princeton, for some reason, I had the impression that actually had kind of a high Black population for whatever reason.
No, it did not. Yeah.
It did not.
No, at that time, it didn't have that many. I
Not at that
can't note, but I know I was surprised at the fact that there were not that many Black. She said it was mostly male and white, but I can't find the note that I had. I knew that was going to come up, but there were not, and anyway, I can see where, if you're in a minority group, you would feel differently, that you
How
felt
did her brother end up going there? Was he there for basketball? Because she kind of followed him.
I think he was there for basketball.
I can't remember that, but she pretty much was just going there because he was going there.
Right, right.
I was surprised she didn't apply to some of the other colleges.
Yeah, I'm surprised at that too, or something closer to home, or yeah, I'm not sure. They didn't really explain. Does anybody else have any more details on that? I don't recall the makeup of that. Yeah, but she did kind of follow him and
I read the book a long time ago, so I don't remember those details, but what I do remember is she did have a very close mentor there, didn't she? This one woman that she worked with, was it an instructor or someone in the office or somebody that she volunteered with? But I remember she had a very mentorship there. Yeah, was that it?
There was I think she helped out in I was at the high school. She helped out
school program or babysitting or
school program.
Something,
yeah. And there was a mentor. They mentioned 3 of the women that were influenced in her. She mentioned women who served as mentors for her in different times in her life. One was, how do you say that? Czerny. Journey. Anyway, Brusnell, Valerie, Jarrett, and Susan Shear. And I had to look them up because the first one was the one that worked at the cultural center at the college. Yeah. So, and I think the Third World Cultural Center, where the most of her friends hung out, it was to promote Black, culture, I guess. And the other one was at Valerie Jarrett, and she met her when she was working, and she was at the University of Chicago Medical Center. And then Susan Shear was also connected with the Chicago. But several of those women she took with her to Washington to help her to be advisors for her programs and things at Washington, and when she was in the White House. So
going back to her Princeton time, I just came across this that said men on campus outnumbered women almost 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Black students made up less than 9% of my freshman class. And this was the first time when she was at Princeton, that she was in the minority in her classroom.
True.
She said, I was like poppy seeds in a bowl of rice.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And it also says the one thing that was constant about going to Princeton was she was still her brother's little sister. She was still Craig Robinson's little sister because he had started to make a name for himself on the
Right.
Princeton basketball team.
And
So
she had felt that through high school too,
yes.
or grade school, that he had kind of paved the way for her.
Yep.
How much older was he then?
Well, when she was a freshman, he was a junior. So
Okay, a couple years.
yeah.
Yeah. But no, that was exactly what I was looking for, the note that I had made.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So that was interesting. I all these little facts that are in the background there that we didn't really think about. Let's see.
Did she have any concerns about fitting in there? Did she talk about that, or having the right clothes, or
At Princeton?
at college?
Yeah.
Apparently not. The only thing she screwed up on was she didn't understand what extra long sheets.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hung out.
Didn't she have a roommate that really dressed to the nines?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that she was helpful to her in that regard, wasn't she?
Yes.
I think
Just
so.
remembered
Yeah.
that she had an influence
Yeah.
on her.
And I think she felt that she didn't have enough clothes. I mean, she was amazed at what some of these students brought to school with them. I mean, like
Yeah.
whole wardrobes and whole, just amazing. We had a girl like that at college too. She even had her maid carry up her stereo, a big stereo. Anyway.
I was really shocked when they said that one of the mothers of one of her first assigned roommates insisted that she be moved because she didn't want her daughter with the black girl.
That's right.
I did the math and I'm thinking, this is like 1980, 1976, 1980,
Right.
I just, the time frame for me, I was just shocked, and maybe I'm just naive, but
the mother was
but-
the family was
yep,
from the
from the South. Yeah.
Yeah. I was amazed at that too. I thought, wow, things like that still. Did Michelle know that was happening at the time or no? I
don't remember.
Sounded like she did.
She found out
how would it
later.
with the book if she
Didn't she?
know?
Yeah, I think it was something she found out later though.
Oh, maybe.
I don't think she knew at the time.
I think at the time she didn't know. I think you're right about that. Yeah.
How do you think she found out to get it in the book?
I don't know. She didn't tell me that.
It just seems so hurtful.
Anybody have any idea?
I think it's interesting here. She said at Princeton, I needed my black friends.
Yes.
Provided one another with relief and support. They really were expected to assimilate, and the Princeton administration wanted them to assimilate into the whole thing, but they would naturally feel like they needed their fellow black students to keep
That
things
was-
in equilibrium.
Yeah, that third world cultural center where they could all hang out and be together. And yeah, they did say that they hoped at school, the college wanted them to intermingle, but and she said, this is typical, they stayed together in their own little group in their off times, and you can see how I don't think we understand how that feels, to be different. And
here's that quote about the student. She said, Kathy, one of my roommates, would surface in the news many years later, describing with embarrassment something I hadn't known when we lived together. Her mother, a school teacher from New Orleans, had been so appalled that her daughter had been assigned a black roommate that she badgered the university to separate us. Little did our mother know it was the future first lady of the United States.
I think the reason that you know, they congregated together, and even in schools, a lot of times the Black students like eat together and stuff. I think a lot of times it's just that they have more shared experiences.
That's right. And that's what she says. It's what we knew.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
coming into, it's what we knew and what we were comfortable with.
Yeah.
And she regrets that she didn't make more friends among the white students. But, you know, as a young college person, her goal was to get through college, not to make a lot of white friends. So,
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I still think we have no idea how people of color would be feeling, you know, when they're in a different situation, or it just, you know, just because of the color of their skin, they're going to stand out and feel different. So that's a whole nother ball game. All right. So we talked about the women, the mentors. She explains why she chose to support her husband's run for presidency, despite her misgivings about politics, and what made her change her mind. How do you balance competing worlds of family and work? Why did she decide to go to support him? Or what was the issue? Does anybody comment on that?
I think she just didn't want to squash his passion. You know, she knew she was hooking up with a passionate guy right when she first was with him, and thought that would be unfair of her to squash him and not support him. That's how I read it.
Yeah, and then, in an interview later, she also said that she would have been very selfish because she knew she had married a very talented man who was very capable of doing a lot more than a lot of us can do. And so she felt that she had to support that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I doubt that how could anybody say no? You know, if your husband wants to run for president, are you going to say, oh?
Well, and there's always out of love for your husband.
But she didn't like politics. She also didn't
No.
like being a lawyer either. I thought that was very interesting. Why did she decide to stop being a lawyer?
I
She
think
wanted to do a more social justice job.
more social justice issues, right?
Yeah.
But back to this business about him running for office. She didn't want him to run for Senate. And,
No.
He didn't run anything.
no. And at one point, it might have been in his book, she said to him, well, I will support you, but I don't know that you'll get my vote.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think that must have been in his book. I didn't.
I
read
think
that.
it was, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, now you're intrigued by that one, huh?
She also said, she said, what are you doing to this family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he's been on television a lot because of his book, you know, the interviews, late night, the talk hosts and all that. And he did say just recently that he was very thankful that she forgave him for his career, for
heard-
doing what he did.
Yeah.
Do you know, wasn't there some influence from other people too that she had that maybe, I can't remember, but wasn't there other people that talked to her? You know,
Yeah,
to let,
he won some of their friends and supporters over before
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
I say, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It was
Well-
interesting too. She said when they finally got to the White House, they actually got to have dinner every night at 6:30, and he had been gone as a senator so much that was a relief. That he was so all consumed by the presidency, but yet they still got to have dinner, which they never had before. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they did get to the White House, she was trying to have normal family time, and they
Yeah.
did all have dinner, although she didn't have to fix it. They had the chefs and everything. But that was that he he made time for that. And then
Yeah.
they work really late at night. That was another thing. All these, she said during dinner time, they would deliver these briefs or these giant
Yeah.
for her, and one was for Barack, and then they would be expected to read through all this stuff overnight, so they would know what was going to be happening the next day. And he would be up late at night, but he always made time to come and say goodnight to the girls, and that was you know, they did try and keep their family together, and he went to the kids' activities and stuff, but that must have been really hard with all the security around there to do all those things.
Yeah.
So,
I was thinking about something I just totally forgot.
good.
It's all right. We didn't know it.
Yeah, what were you just talking about?
Dinner?
Dinner time.
Okay. The part that how hard when she would be gone, if she possibly could, she would come back home that evening.
Yes, yes.
That was that I like that a lot.
Yeah, I remember
On the
her-
campaign trail.
Yeah.
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 She would only be gone for a few days. She wouldn't be gone for a really long period of time either. And she would always make sure she had time at home for the girls. So she, that was her priority. That was a big thing for her. So she supported him. And okay, the first lady is a role without a job description. And how did she choose to approach that role? If you were in charge of writing the job description, what would you include? I don't know.
Decorating for Christmas.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, well, I was floored when there was one point when they moved to the White House that they give the president $100,000 for moving and redecorating. You know, doesn't that seem like too much? Where's that money coming from? Why do they have to redecorate?
How much was it?
$100,000. Yeah.
Didn't she say they didn't use it, that they used their own
No,
money?
they did not. What I don't think they did. They didn't use one of the.
I was surprised at
money.
how much they paid for themselves. I thought a lot of that was paid
Yeah.
for. The bills they had to pay and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they chose to pay for what their clothes. I could think that was what one of the things was. She chose to buy her own clothes rather than I guess there would have been an expense. The only things she didn't pay for were the gowns that she would wear, and then those were going to go into like a museum or something. But yeah, so. But I thought in the book it was interesting how she needed to choose a project, and the idea behind that, you know, and also when she transitioned to the White House, she felt that the other first ladies were very gracious to her.
Laura Bush. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Talks a lot about Laura Bush.
yeah, and the family, even the children came to
Girls.
around.
Yeah, the girls came to show the new girls the fun stuff about the White House.
Yeah.
That was true. Okay. Well, I think we can let's end on a note here. In the epilogue, Mrs. Obama writes, I wish they'd just call her Michelle, that, you know, but I've never been a fan of politics. And my experience over the last 10 years has done little to change that. I find your statement surprising. And do you think politics is an effective way to make a social change? Well, I don't think we can answer that question, but why do you think Michelle chose to name her memoir Become? I thought that was a good one too.
Well, because it was about how she became the Michelle Obama we know.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
Well, and that I think she was making the point too, that we're all still becoming, just like she feels like she's still becoming, it's becoming, growing.
Does that happen at age? I mean, is there an age limit on becoming? do you
No.
think?
Oh, no.
Never.
Okay,
No.
good. We still have a chance, huh?
Yes, we're still becoming.
Maybe becoming first lady is out of reach, but everything
Yeah.
else.
Well, personally, I wouldn't want that job anyway. I don't know who would. It's just, but
I think it's really interesting now, having read, like I said, I'm about halfway through Barack's book. It's really helped me understand what a politician
oh yeah,
to be, which I don't know that I ever thought about before. I always thought politicians were, like former lawyers, former whatever, but
right.
they are a beast unto themselves, really. And boy, to be a good politician, like I think he tried to be, it's a really unique way of living. You live every moment as a politician. And so how she, went from a community activist to a lawyer to him becoming a politician, he was asking her to make huge leaps
True.
along with him.
I think that's been difficult. Yes. Any other? Yes, go ahead.
Changing the subject just a little bit. No one brought this up, but I found this really entertaining in the book. I loved how neat she was and how messy he
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a wonderful marriage thing. It just made them so real. I mean, of course they are real, but even so, I got a kick out of that. And when you said in his book, he only talks about his marriage on 4 pages, I was a little disappointed. I wanted to hear a little bit about his comebacks to what.
How many books has he written? Is this his third or his second?
I think this is his third, isn't it? And it's about him first getting into politics until after the capture of Osama bin Laden. And then he's working on the next one, which will be sort of the end of his terms in the White House. And I'm not sure what else. But yeah, this one is 700 pages. So he's got a lot to say.
Oh boy. That's a long way to go.
Yeah.
Well, I see Christine keeps popping in and out because we're probably supposed to end about now, but any other questions or comments? And thank you for all of your comments. You guys
Thank
helped
you.
us.
Good to see everybody. I wasn't here last
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. Love to see the faces.
Yeah, I'll check with Christine about the future. Oh, if you have any ideas for future books you'd like to discuss, if you want to let Christine know or email me, because next time I'd like to add a few more to the list and so we can plan ahead. So that would be good too. So, okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Bye.
Bye.
Merry
Thank
Christmas,
you.
everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry
Bye,
Christmas.
Sandra.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jan.
Bye.
Bye,
Talk
Nancy.
to you on Friday, Linda.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.